Well, so thank you for having me, Andrea, here. Well, you might be wondering who I am and why I'm here. Andrea already told you a bit about it, but I will just repeat it. That's part of my presentation too. I'm Carla Roos, and I'm from the University of Groningen, and where I'm a third-year PhD student in the social psychology department. And I'm working with Tom Posmus and Nat Koudenberg. And yeah, this is a picture of Groningen, so very beautiful. And you can also see why I feel at home here in Florence, because it's quite similar. I'm working on sort of our own project. It's called Social Regulation in a Digital Society. And here we focus on why online discussions escalate easier into conflict or polarization than face-to-face discussions. And we look at the microscale, as Andrea already told you. I'm here because I'm invited by Andrea, and that's because we work together with my professors together with Virthulab Talk on a model in which we used knowledge from social psychology, micro-level dynamics in small groups, to model macro-level societal dynamics. And today I will present to you first my own work until now, a sort of short overview. And then afterwards I will also tell you more about this project we did together with Virthulab Talk and Professor Gazzini. I can say you can just ask my questions during the presentation, because I'm a bit like, I had this holiday for a whole week now already, so I feel a bit, I might be a bit fake sometimes. Just ask, that's fine. And of course also after the presentation you can ask any questions you want. First. So there's a lot of concerns you might know about this, the fact that online media seem more prone to conflict escalation and polarization than when people discuss face-to-face. More generally, there's a trend of polarization in society, and often people blame social media for this, because there's this online discussion seems to escalate easier. So, so there's two major ideas about this. There's a lot of thinking, and lay people and scientists alike, they think that it might be due to the fact that online communication is sometimes rather fake or ambiguous. Like people misunderstand each other, and this can escalate into conflict because there's a lack of subtle social cues. And the other idea is that online people feel themselves anonymous, and that's why they think like, I don't mind anymore about any judgments of other people. I just can say anything I want, and they become what's called disinhibited. So they lose their inhibitions. They just act all their own urges and needs and wishes without any concern for other people. However, there's contrasting research that shows that online we're able to form very close, even romantic social relationships, and also people are fairly sensitive to norms online. So this is a bit unclear. So we thought we should look at what really happens in online discussions, within the online discussion, so on this micro level. And that's a new perspective. How do people in discussions disagree with each other, and how do they react to each other, and what is the consequence for the way they see each other and the way they view their social relationship? So, and apparently conflict is always, or like disagreement is always not nice, because it can damage your social relationships. So people aim to somehow make this disagreement less threatening. So, this is what we call social regulation. So they try to maintain their pleasant social relationship while still expressing disagreement. And apparently people do this better in face-to-face conversations, because online discussions with disagreements escalate, and face-to-face discussions do it less so. Right? So we might learn something from looking at the way people socially regulate their face-to-face discussions. So we looked at the literature, and we see that, when people, especially strangers, they discover they disagree in a face-to-face conversation, they often start to express their disagreement fairly subtly, with a lot of Yeah, but I don't know, I'm unsure, but I think I'm sort of disagree with you, like make it very, yes, woolly and very tentatively and very ambiguously. We call this ambiguity. So face-to-face discussions are often very ambiguous when it comes to disagreement. And on the other hand, a second ingredient is that's more general in conversations. It's very important that people respond to each other's comments. Because when somebody says something and I ignore that person, the person might feel ignored and not heard, and might think that I somehow dislike him or her, or their input, their opinion. So I might disagree with them. So it appears that we call this responsiveness. So the degree to which people respond to each other tells them a lot of information about the status of their social relationship. So both of these ingredients, the ambiguity, the vagueness of the conversation, and the responsiveness, so still responding to each other, appear to enable people in face-to-face discussions to disagree while they still feel they connect. They feel still like they have a nice relationship. And we can say that we can somehow summarize this as if the style of expression is very important. Maybe even more so than the content, because the content is still disagreement, but it's brought in a very vague and really responsive style. So, however, when we then look at online discussions, both of these factors might be more difficult to enact for people. Because first, there's a lack of subtle social cues like facial expressions, and using ums is also not done very frequently online. So there's less ambiguity, it is more clear, more explicit. And on the other hand, it's also harder to be responsive to each other because it's mostly not synchronous anymore, the medium. So people just start typing and pressing enter every now and then, and like in an instance, and then comments appear out of order, and people don't really respond to each other that much. So, and considering that this ambiguity and responsiveness are very important in online or in face-to-face discussions to make people able to maintain the social relationship while disagreeing, the lack of ambiguity and the lack of responsiveness in online discussions, that might make it harder to disagree in a pleasant way, to still maintain the social relationship online. So, and that we can summarize in our model. Well, we see online there's a lack of subtle social cues like the and the facial expressions, and also a lack of synchronicity, so comments appear out of order. And we think that this will lead to a lack of ambiguity and a lack of responsiveness. And we think that people will not acknowledge that the other person is behaving in this way, like very clear and very unresponsive, due to the medium, what it's caused by the medium, but they might think that the person is really internally motivated to be unresponsive and clear. So they might feel the other is ignoring them and just acting in a disinhibited manner, like not considering the thoughts and feelings of the other, but really just doing whatever they wish online. So, and this might then lead to more the idea that people think they disagree more than they really do, and also they feel less social connection, so less solidarity. And the red marked things are the ones that are quite contra-intuitive from our ideas. When we think back about my third slide or something, we saw that the very general ideas in science and lay public is that online is more ambiguous because there's a lack of social cues, but we say online is less ambiguous, so more clear, because people adapt to the lack of social cues. And on the other hand, we also think that it's not the case that people really lose their social concerns online, because they're still people, they're still motivated to connect mostly. Of course, there's people that are really want to be aggressive, but we assume that normal people, they still want to be liked. So we think that they don't really become disinhibited, but they seem like they become disinhibited because they express themselves so clearly that might come across as really harsh, like I disagree instead of I don't know, maybe I sort of disagree. That's very, very differently. And also they don't respond to each other, so they feel as if the other is not listening. That's also a sign of disinhibition. So to sort of test this model and learn more about online social regulation, We ran until now 4 experiments. In the first 2, I had students in the lab just discuss amongst each other about a controversial topic, so a topic that there was like disagreement about. And then we ran 2 studies on this, and I will only present the second study because the first study was similar in design and the same in the results. So in the second study we had, it was like a repeated measure, so students came into the lab and they were discussing either first face-to-face or either first text-based chat. And it could also be the other way around. So they did both, online and face-to-face. And they were 3 of them, but there was a 4th person and they just thought it was a student, but in reality it was a confederate of us. And that person introduced disagreement, like a right-wing opinion, more like women are not meant to be leaders, something like that. And we knew that students mostly would disagree about it. So that person introduced disagreement in the online chat and also face-to-face in a similar manner, with same sentences. So and then we looked at the way people react to this dissenting confederate. So we coded the content of their reactions, and we also asked them for their impressions of the conversation in general. In the self-report questionnaire. And yes, so on the results. It's going a bit quick, so if you have any questions, please ask me. So first, we looked at the content. So how do people respond to this weird opinion, like extreme right-wing opinion? We see that in the chat discussions, there is people express themselves clearer, so like the way we expected, so less ambiguous. It's more like I disagree instead of I am sort of disagree. And also they were less responsive, so they appear to ignore each other more. So they didn't really say like, yeah, but they just had like their opinion without any connection to the previous message. And we did not find any difference in the content, as we also coded for expressed disagreement, so people said more like I disagree or disagree. So there was no difference in how much people disagreed. And also, we didn't find any difference in how much people were acting in a disinhibited way. So it's like just acting out, like it's mostly aggressive things, like calling names or something like that, or swearing. They didn't do that more or less online face-to-face. So we do indeed see that there's no difference in content in this sense. So there's not more disagreement expressed, there's not more disinhibition. But still, people in style, there's a difference. So people express themselves clearer and less responsive online. So then that's in line with our expectations. And then we look at the way people felt themselves in the questionnaire. We asked them, did you think the others were listening to you or were they ignoring you? And there we see indeed that they feel more ignored online. And also that they think that the others were less thoughtful. That's like this disinhibition measure. So they less inhibited, so they felt the others were more like just acting out in their own will. And they also experienced, as a consequence maybe, they experienced less agreement between each other, and they also experienced less close relationships, so less solidarity. So when you think back about the previous slide, we didn't find any difference in expressed disagreement or agreement. But still people feel they disagree more online than face-to-face. And we think that this is due to the clarity and the responsiveness. So maybe due to that people are not really reacting to each other and are expressing themselves really clearly, really explicitly, they might feel they disagree more than they actually do. And they also feel less socially, like nice connected. And that's why we looked at correlations. And here we see first that as people express themselves more clear and less responsive, they feel more ignored and they feel less or more disinhibition. So they think the others are acting out and not listening to them. And also then perceived disinhibition, so they think the others are acting out. That also leads to experiencing less agreement and less solidarity, and also for the ignoring part. So people think the others are just not interested in them or the social relationship, but are just focusing on their own needs and just standing out their opinion, and that leads to experiencing less agreement and less solidarity. So it appears that it's more people misattribute the clarity and the responsiveness to internal motives instead of to the medium itself. Because the clarity and the responsiveness are sort of forced upon people by the medium, because they can only use text. But on the other hand, they think that it's like internally motivated and that people are just ignoring them and disinterested. So, and also directly we see like that clarity and responsiveness lead to less experienced consensus and less solidarity. That's sort of what I want to say here, I think. Yeah. Okay, so, well, it's really nice that we find this, but it might also be that the effects we find, that people feel they disagree more and they dislike each other more, might also be due to the medium characteristics, in the sense that people might feel more social distance when they are interacting via chat, because they don't see each other. And instead of really due to style, we say it's the style, it's the clarity and the responsiveness. So we set up two studies to test whether it's really about the style of expression. And we did this by bringing the style of expression from one medium into the other. So we ran two studies, and the first, like study 3, there we had actors enact the chat transcripts of the previous study. So the online was brought offline somehow, to say. And in study 4, we went the other way around. So we transcribed the face-to-face discussions and also the chat. So then we brought the offline online. And then there were observers that didn't know that it was like, they didn't know it was a chat or a face-to-face, but they just only saw a face-to-face, but they saw both without knowing it. Yeah, do you understand? So, and in the other study, in study 4, they just read two transcripts, and they didn't know that one was originally a face-to-face conversation and the other was a chat conversation. So, and then we asked them the same things we asked also in the previous study. So we see what outside observers think. And I will only present also the third study, because also the fourth study is similar in results. But the third is most clear, and also most nice, I think, the method, because we have actresses enact the chats, that's really cool. So here we see that the outside observers, when they see actresses enact originally a chat conversation, they think that the actresses are expressing themselves clearer, so less ambiguous, and also are less responsive, so more ignoring each other online than when they see the face-to-face conversation enacted. And also, so the style of expression is sort of maintained. They still see these differences. While they don't know it's chat or face-to-face, they just see two face-to-face conversations, but still they think when it was originally a chat, so it's actually connected to chat, they think it's different in style and in the way we previously already found, like clearer and less responsive in chat. And then we see also that this somehow affects their impression of the agreement and the degree of solidarity among the actresses. So they also think that the actresses dislike each other more in the chat, and also they think that the actresses disagree more in the chat. So, and that we find is still, while they think it's just a face-to-face conversation, both, so they don't know it's a chat, they still think that the chat people disagree more and also feel less solidarity than the face-to-face conversation people. So, yeah, that's like proof that our style differences are caused. Well, and that sort of brings me to a midterm conclusion of my studies. So, as you can see, it's important to study this microdynamics in online interactions, and I also really want to tell this to you because I heard you're interested in those kinds of things. And also we can see that the style of expression is very important in steering the outcomes of the interaction. And now I would like to show you very shortly an overview of the study we did with Andrea and Ren. And here you can see it's like an example of how you can use the micro-level psychological dynamics I talk about to use more macro level societal processes. Yeah. So here we, for this project, we started from the observation that often there's a discrepancy between what's like the aggregate of private attitudes of people in a society and the public opinion as it's shown in social media. So when you ask them in private for their opinion and you count it all up, it's like a different distribution of opinions than when you look at television and think, yeah, what might be the aggregate opinion. So, and especially now in current societies, very extreme opinions seem to be more visible online. There still is a very large majority of very moderate people that are not that extreme, but they are less visible or less audible. And that's the side of majority. And we try to model this, and for this we asked ourselves what might influence when people express their opinion publicly or their attitude publicly or not. So for this we went back to the social psychology literature on small group dynamics, and there we see two very important motives in general for people. People are often motivated to maintain a sort of social unity in the interaction, so to maintain a sense of we agree and we feel together. While on the other hand, people are also motivated by motivation to stick out, to be special, to have reputation, and that's like the other kind of motive. And now to make the agent-based model, we sort of simplified it. So we said like there's people that are mainly motivated by maintaining a consensus and a nice social unity. First, there's people that are mainly motivated by being original and one of the first, and that's the reputation seekers. And then we asked ourselves what factors might influence their tendency to express their opinion, and therefore we made sort of a nice illustration of it. This is the decision model, sort of. I will not tell you all those things, but I will just walk you through one example to give you a feel of it. So in this column is like the consensus seeker people, and on that column that's like the this one here. Yeah, it's nice. This is the consensus people, and this is the reputation seeking people. So, and then when they, for example, when you have like the majority with a minority, there's like three neighbors of in center, that's the person, the agent. And there's three other agents that express opinion A, and one agent that expresses opinion B. So when there's like, you are a consensus seeker, you don't want this kind of disagreement, so you just remain silent anyhow. So no matter whether you are opinion A, so the majority, or opinion B, so the minority, you always remain silent because you just want to avoid this disagreement. But then when you are like a reputation seeker, you want to stick out, and you find out there's one person already saying opinion B, and when you are agreeing with this person, you will express yourself. But when you are agreeing with those three people, you won't express yourself, because you're not unique anymore. Their motivation is to be one of the first, to be like a innovator. So, and the rest of this model was filled in similarly. And then we varied the percentages of in the fake society, how many people there were like consensus seekers and how many people there were reputation seekers. So we varied this, and then we looked at what it did to this discrepancy between the private attitudes, the aggregate of private attitudes, and their expressed opinions, the public opinions, so to say. And this is sort of the same, the main results. Here we see that when we have these reputation seekers, when there's a majority a minority of reputation seekers, so a majority of consensus seekers, there's the majority in private opinions becomes amplified in expressed opinions. So it seems that if the real majority is even more like the majority in public opinion. But when the amount of reputation seekers is in the majority, and there's like so more reputation seekers than consensus seekers, it will seem the majority will be dampened. So the real majority in private attitudes seems less like the majority in expressed public opinion. And then the most, the most preferred one, sort of, would be the convergence, so that the real aggregate of private opinions is the same as what appears to be the majority. And that's around this percentage, like between 50 and 75 or something, reputation seekers. And then the silent majority scenario, it never became the major event. So, and that would be the case that when the real majority in private opinions would appear the minority in public expressed opinions. But it did become slightly more prevalent when the number of reputation seekers increased. So, yeah, this is just a nice example of how we can use those very micro-level social psychological dynamics to model those more macro-level societal phenomena. Yes, and I'm sort of done now. So, are there any questions?